Happy Monday. Welcome to the oil stream here on Edmonton Sports Talk. No Dusty, no Gazzola, but you have the one and only Reid Wilkins. I'm Hernan Salas, and our wonderful producer, YouTube Trev, who rumors have it, Reid, he started the wave yesterday at good old Rogers Place. So we'll have to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
We'll have to get to the bottom.
Why are people upset about the wave? Because they were doing it and the other team scored?
No, because they were doing it with 12 minutes left.
In which game?
Yesterday's.
No, but wasn't there another time earlier this season or in the playoffs?
Yeah.
When they were doing the wave and the other team scored?
Because you only do the wave, Reid, if you're up by 3 or 4 goals and late in the game.
No.
Yes.
There is not a definition.
Yes, there
on
is.
When. No, there's not. You do it when you're having fun, okay?
No.
That is the point.
This is my question. How much fun is the wave, though?
I thought it was the best part of the game last night. I had so much fun.
Well, that's fair, but the game was a bit of a dud. But
I had people saying, I've never been involved in a wave this long in my entire life. And people were saying it's continuing to go. It's just, look at it. It just won't stop.
So when the wave cost the Oilers a game in the playoffs, I'll talk to you about it.
The wave costs the Oilers a game. That's not how it works, Hernan.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes. If we had the stats on how many times the wave is started and the Oilers get scored on, it's probably at over 70%.
Yeah, start if it's
well,
that big of an issue.
Well, it didn't happen yesterday.
It didn't, exactly.
Okay, so the percentage drops. But that's a one-off.
Okay.
Okay, we'll keep track of it now.
And look, at Oilers games, I do not sit in the stands. I still sit in the stands at Elks games, though there's been very little to celebrate in a lot of their home games recently. Here's what I would say. I don't like the wave because if it happens during the play, it distracts me from watching the play. Because if I'm going to participate, which I don't, but if I were going to participate, I have to be watching for the timing of when I do my part of the wave. And if I'm not participating in the wave, which I do not, then there's someone standing up in front of me while the play is going on. So it's not something that is confined to a stoppage in play like when people were singing along to Living on a Prayer last season. And then even if you keep singing to Living on a Prayer, it doesn't involve standing up and distracting from watching the game.
Yeah.
And usually when there is singing, they would be up by a large margin and kind of have a win in the bag. But as people know, if they listen to me over the years, I to some extent, I'm not comfortable commenting on fan experience stuff because I rarely attend as a fan.
Yeah.
And also, that's not my interest. Like I had a big rant on why I dislike the Super Dogs at halftime at Commonwealth, and I love dogs.
Okay.
But they're not super. They make a lot of mistakes.
Yes, they do.
So. And really, when I did go primarily as a fan, I've never left a game saying, well, thank goodness they did the sumo bubble wrestling. The one thing I might do at a U of A hockey game occasionally is participate in chuck-a-puck. But that's an intermission thing.
Yeah.
And I would never leave the game saying, well, the whole doing chuck-a-puck made the whole night for me, unless I won, because then you win a few $100. You're
not messing with the bad juju. And I can honestly say I've never done the wave.
You're missing nothing.
That's what I mean. Like I'll never understand it, and it is going to cost the Oilers one time. So whoever starts the wave, shame on you. And
I thought there was a game in the playoffs or earlier this year when the other team tied it while the wave was going on.
Yes, a couple of times. And you know, I remember during the season last year, the fans at Rogers Place did the wave when the Oilers were down a goal. Like. That's just...
But I guess if you want to have fun, then you can have fun. I'm not telling people personally not to have fun. I'm just saying why I wouldn't participate in it. But as far as I know, Hernan, you seem to have some. I have never been aware of any rules about the wave.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's an old school thing. Hustler from Winnipeg Sports Talk hates it as well. And I find it here in Edmonton, we do it far too often when the game's tied or when the game's a 1-goal game and really early in the game, and it doesn't make sense to me. But nonetheless, that's my rant on the wave, and a lot of people here accusing YouTube Trev for starting it yesterday. The Oil Stream is presented by Boston Pizza. Feeling the holiday hustle? Celebrate the season with a festive escape at BP. Our holiday menu brings you indulgent dishes, delightful desserts, and holiday-inspired drinks that are perfect for sharing or savoring all to yourself. Treat yourself to a holly break with flavors that make every visit Thiel special. I know YouTube Trev's hanging out here for a bit because he wants to give some shout-outs from the game yesterday. YouTube Trev, the floor is yours.
Yeah, is that okay?
Of course.
Well, let's go. Okay, yeah. First off, that was the first Oilers game I've been to all year. First Oilers game, I guess, since Western Conference Final with Dash in the Park last year, which was awesome. But this was just a great time. It was fun. I love the intro video. I talked about that in the morning show. It looked good. It got me pumped up.
Nice.
But before we get there, there's a ODR, the skating rink that they have outside of Rogers Place. I gotta get new. This is new to me, right? I want to start getting to know these people and asking who their names are, and like who they are, because I was just in a panic mode. I was like, someone just recognized me. It was the coolest thing ever. And so, shout out to that guy. I didn't grab his name, but then we're out in Fort Hall. We had a few brewskis, and I think he's listening in right now. He was an absolute. Why am I drawing a blank? I'm drawing a blank, but he was the nicest guy, and he bought me a beer, so shout out to you. And then there were some nasties right behind us, right behind my seat. They also said hi, and I forget the first two people's names, but I remember the one. It was Rob. So shout out Rob and everyone. I just wanted to say hi. It was the coolest thing to me.
Okay. Is your first game this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was okay. It was an okay game.
Who'd you go with?
Stepdad Frank.
Oh.
Yeah.
I know Stepdad Frank.
Yeah. Good so dude. It was nice. It was a good game to go to.
Yeah.
All things considered. I loved being in the wave, but I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone.
Was everybody feeling jolly there on a Sunday? A lot of people didn't work today, right? They're off for the holiday.
Yeah, everyone, it was a good spirit. I think his name was Nolan. Shout out Nolan. That was who it was. Nolan, he bought me a beer, so I had to shout him out. I told him I would. And it was kind of a funny story because he introduced, he sat down right beside me, and he's like, oh, yeah, I love the Oilers. I'm like, do you listen to any Oilers, content? And you know what he says? He says, yeah, I listened to this show called The Oil Stream. And nice. I was like, no way. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. That's actually, I produce quite a bit of those shows. Same with Hernan right here. So it was funny how the world works, small world. So shout out Nolan.
Yeah, and 2PI100 says, shout out to Trev. Pleasure meeting you, bud.
I think that's who it was, yes.
Okay, awesome.
Let's go.
Well,
Thanks, boys.
Let's get to the game. The Oilers 11 of 13 to finish off their schedule at the Christmas break. Reid. A couple players, off the schneid for Adam Reid, who was getting close the last two games, finally finds the back of the net on an excellent play by that line. I thought that line was really good together last night. But Zach Hyman, Reid, I think we got to get to him. He's been excellent since returning. He's got 10 goals in his last 9 games. Everybody keeps bringing up the Canada snub and all that. Like, what a mistake they did. Like, Zach Hyman was playing well, I think, before the injury. He just was snake bitten. But what do you make of Zach Hyman's tear right now, Reid?
Well, to be honest, I'm not surprised because we've seen him do this before. I mean, he got 54 goals last year, and as we saw, he can go on streaks where he gets 6 goals in 5 games or has a hat trick or whatever. So I'm not surprised because of the way he plays. And the one thing we've also seen about Zach Hyman is, as much as his ability to be in the blue paint and score on rebounds and deflections, sometimes when he's not even trying to deflect it, he has a pretty good mid-range shot as well. And I mean, he's popped in 2 or 3 wristers this season over the goalie's shoulder to the top corner. So he's just such a good all-around player. And he does these things. He does hard things and makes them look easy. Like even the goal last night. Oh, well, he tapped it, he tapped it into the open net, but he had to be reading the play and getting to the net on time. I remember Todd McClellan, who never coached Hyman, but when he would talk about going to the net, he said, you have to go to the net, but you also have to arrive on time. You have to know the play and when the puck is going to get there and when you're going to get body position. So, look, Tom asked me on Friday when he did the show, did the oil stream, about Hyman getting to 35, and I said I think Hyman's going to get to 40.
Okay.
I really do. He's got 27 games, he needs 27 goals, and he's got 49 games. Mm-hmm. I mean, he can score at that rate. He really can. He's going to probably be on McDavid's line all the time. He's going to be on the power play pretty much all the time, and he plays a style that allows him to be in the scoring area, right? And even get the occasional breakaway. When did he get the breakaway goal against Florida? So, I mean, he's just such a talented, smart, hardworking player. I'm not surprised he's having this burst. I'm not surprised the puck has started going in for him at all. I mean, he's Well, we've seen him doing it. We even saw him in Toronto, how good he can be, and with Edmonton, he's been even better. So, yeah, I think this onward and upward for Hyman.
Can he get 27 goals from here on in? I wouldn't bet against it.
Yeah, to get to 40? Did I say the right math?
Yeah.
Yes, I think he can.
He's at
37 to get to 50. I think that's going to be pretty tough. Because the Oilers have 49 games left, right?
Yeah.
So he has to score at a little over half a goal per game, which is how he got to 54 last season.
Yes. Let us know on the inbox, 780-218-9999, or hit us up on the Nasty Chat. Of course, you can listen to us on iHeart or the TuneIn Radio app. If you like to watch us on the YouTube channel, will Hyman hit 40? Reid thinks so. I think he can do it as well. Especially, he plays on the top line. He's on the power play, so I think he's a guy that can definitely do it. On the flip side, we talked about it last night on the post-game show. This break's coming at a good time for Mr. Evan Bouchard. Another pretty bad blunder. It's just the way we have to call it how it is. It was atrocious. The play tried to make it the blue line. Cousins goes in on the breakaway, scores the goal. I think the last 3 games, the Florida game, he struggled mightily, and then he was a little bit better, and then a little bit better, but he's still struggling with the puck. You can see it in his body language, too, that he's kind of fed up with himself, Reid. But this Christmas break, for anyone on the Edmonton Oilers, is coming at a great time for Evan Bouchard to kind of reset.
Okay, just for the sake of argument, let me play devil's advocate to that, because I do think you make a good point.
Okay.
And I do think players have slumps.
Yeah.
Any player can. Whether people want to hear it or not, it happens. But I'll throw this to you as a counterpoint.
Okay.
What makes you think Evan Bouchard is going to return from a break and stop trying to toe drag people when he's the last guy back?
And you've made the point all year. Like, you're gonna Evan Bouchard's this player. I was gonna call you Gager. I'm so used to saying this. Sorry, Reid. A lot of good Reid with this player. But you're going to have these moments at times with Evan Bouchard. And it's just the reality, and it's something you have to live with, right?
See, that play last night, I'm actually more tolerant of than when he throws a pass.
Yeah.
Like the one in the Leafs game. I think there might have been another one. Was it the Vegas game? He could have gone up the wall and put it through the middle. I'm less tolerant of those because that's a decision where he's putting the puck into a more dangerous place. Beating a guy one-on-one with a stick handle, he's capable of doing, and he usually does it.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the third period, McDavid tried a very dangerous pass to the front of his own net, trying to start a breakout that got intercepted.
Yes.
So those skilled guys try things that are low percentage for other people, but usually work for them.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say that those are always the right decisions, and I get that sometimes they lead to chances or goals, but the skilled guys do usually pull it off. So I realize Bouch might be in a bit of a slump here, and it's been kind of a weird year for him because I mean he still does have 25 points and is +7.
Yeah.
He's not quite on last year's pace. I thought he would get to a point a game again this year. He might, but he's going to have to rally. But last night's play, I guess I'm kind of, as people know, I kind of split hairs with language a little bit, but the play last night, I think you also have to give Cousins credit for the strip, right? So
sure, it's a good play too.
It's a good play too. So, but yes, I mean you want him to limit the amount of big blunders he's going to have. Like, that's what I'm saying. He will make them. I think you hope that they're spaced out, right? So they're not happening game after game or multiple times in a game as we have seen when he's not on his game.
Yeah, he's such an interesting player and a guy that was excellent in the playoffs. And I think sometimes, you're going to have a little bit of a lull in the season. Every player goes through it. To expect that he was going to be at at that playoff level in October, I think it was a bit of a stretch. But he's been, like, you read out his numbers; they're still pretty damn good. And I mean, there's a lot of games you can look at where he's cost the team goals, but he's such a polarizing player for me. Spency 5 cents, he says, "Can Bouch stop trying to go top corner, missing the net so often?" Penner's Pancake says Bouch is bringing down his AAV every week. Smitty the Welder says this attitude of having to live with absolute brutal plays by Bouchard is terrible. So I want to get to that.
Yeah, well, Smitty Weller, I mean, look, I don't know. Look, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
You have your opinion. I don't know what you expect from this player. I guess would be my question to you. If you expect perfection, you're not going to get it.
He's not Cale Makar. He's not Quinn Hughes.
And I mean, as much as we want him to play better, every player will make mistakes. Bouchard sometimes makes very, very big mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's great. But I'm saying that's kind of part of who he is. Just like Draisaitl taking a penalty for tackling Macklin Celebrini out of frustration is part of who he is.
But no one says anything.
And with Draisaitl, I think that's the first frustration penalty he's taken this year. Oh no, he took one when
earlier in the
season when he got benched.
Yeah,
he took one last year against Calgary when he just skated out of the corner and slew-footed a guy.
Yeah,
and just. So unfortunately, human beings have qualities that sometimes, they don't always overcome. So I get that as Oilers fans, you don't want these people to make massive mistakes, but they will. Mm-hmm. I mean, it'd be like expecting a quarterback to never throw an interception.
Yeah.
But the really good quarterbacks don't throw them often and don't throw them at bad times. So that would be my goal for Bouchard. Don't make mistakes often and don't make it at a really costly time in the game.
And what I find interesting, Reid, and I've noticed the last 3 games that he has struggled in, or the last 4, whatever you want to call it, is that whoever runs the defense, whether it's Paul Coffey or Stewart or Chris Knoblauch making the call, they keep playing him because he leads all defensemen in ice time in the last 4 games. So I feel like Paul Coffey's like, kid, I know you're fighting it a bit, but we're going to keep putting you out there. Do you like that strategy?
Again, I think it depends on the game situation and the caliber of the mistake. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think generally most coaches will keep playing their top players quite a bit. Like even when Draisaitl quote unquote got benched, it was 2 shifts.
Yeah,
okay?
That's fair.
Like other guys, like the third period against, was it San Jose? Jeff Skinner played 1 shift, and that was because the second power play unit got out. So if Chris Knoblauch doesn't like Draisaitl's game, it's he might go down from 24 minutes to 22.
Yeah,
or other guys will not be seen for an entire period. I think that specifically with Bouchard, most of the time they're going to keep putting him out there, because they see more positive than negative. And I think part of that is the Paul Coffey effect.
Yeah.
Because Paul Coffey was often discussed the same way Evan Bouchard was discussed in the fan base. And I remember that because I was a kid listening to John Short and other post-game shows at the time. And I also think you have to remember what Ekholm says. Ekholm has said he has told Bouch, like, don't hesitate. If you think the play is there,
do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
So he is being told that, and I do think still there's more positive than negative from him in the way he gets the puck off the ice and passes and a lot of things that don't always lead to points. But I get it. Like I've talked about too, that sort of upright posture, that appearance of not digging in, not throwing body checks, not knocking people down in front of the net. I get all that. It can be frustrating when you have other defensemen who are doing it.
Raider Jesse says, Bouchard makes mistakes because he handles the puck in the top 1% of the NHL. In every way, shape, and form, he gives you more positive than negative. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember hearing that, 15, 20 years ago, whenever, like, about Ales Hemsky. Well, he turns the puck over a lot. And then other people would say, well, he has the puck more than anybody else. He completes more passes more than anybody else. So, but sometimes he's going to give it away. And
Chris Knoblauch said the same thing about when he was asked about Draisaitl's horrible turnover. He goes, well, when guys are that offensive, elite offensive guys, they're going to make mistakes because they have the puck so much. And they try things that other players don't.
Right.
And that's Evan Bouchard. So, and Penner's Pancake says, Hyman giveaway crowd. That's okay. Himes, no worries. Bouchard giveaway crowd, bleep, 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 which is true. But I think why Bouchard stands out so much because, unfortunately for him, usually his end up in the back of the net, where Draisaitl has been bailed out by the goalie.
Well, and if Bouchard gives it away, it's usually closer to his own net.
Closer to his net because he's a defenseman, right? So it's a little bit different for sure when it comes to Evan Bouchard. Also on the post-game show, we were talking about, the first measuring stick for a team. We usually go U.S. Thanksgiving. I know you and Jay did grades. You kind of grouped them, which I liked. Now we're at the Christmas break. There's a whack of games. I think there's one on right now in New Jersey up on the Rangers 2-0. We will get to Chris Kreider being a healthy scratch. But what would you give the Oilers as a grade, Reid, if they didn't hear your grade last night on the post-game show? Because, slow start, yes. Special teams were down for a bit there. They're trending in the right direction. But if you look at the Oilers, they're second in the Pacific. They're right there for first place, and they're trending upwards. This is the team we all expected. So what grade would you give them?
I would give them a B because I think ultimately having a record of 21-11-2 is quite good.
Okay.
So to win half your games, you have to win 41, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the bare minimum to have a chance at the playoffs. So they're on pace to get, the pace can change, but still now they're on pace to get to at least the mid-40s in wins. They are second in the division, which is good. I think there's some hope. The hope going into the season was that they would win the division and at least have home ice in 2 rounds of the playoffs. Instead of not having it in the second round, as it has always been the case. But if I'm grading the whole season, I can't ignore the first, 14 games. After they lost to Vegas 4-2 and they blew that lead, they were 6-7-1. And then they'd had a lot of issues. Yeah. So I can't ignore all the mistakes made in the first month of the season.
That's fair.
I can't ignore below average or poor, quite frankly, intensity. There were a lot of nights where their heads and hearts didn't seem to be in it. And I know it's hard to measure that, but you can I just go off, okay, how committed are they to taking a check or making sure they get the puck out or finishing an offensive play? And the power play wasn't good early. The PK was actually below 60% for a few days before it started working up. Neither goalie was great early on. Part of that was a product of the defending as well. So so what are they since November 6th, since they lost to Vegas? They were 6-7-1. So since then they're 15-4-1. That's an incredible stretch. Yeah. But again, if you want me to grade the whole season, I can't ignore that first part. So, but I do give them a solid B.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I gave them a B+. I just think they've really come into their own. And I look at this last stretch, Reid. They beat Colorado. They beat Tampa Bay. They beat who's the other one? Vegas.
Yeah.
They've gone against some good teams and taking care of bit of business. Penner's Pancake says if someone said the Oilers would be 21-11-2 at Christmas with this curtain decor, everyone would take that. I think that's a very valid point. Chris G says Oilers are number 1 in the power rankings. I saw that earlier this morning. So
I didn't even see those. Is this
that
the
NHL?
TSN latest or?
Yeah, Chris G, let us know where those rankings, the NHL, TSN, or Sportsnet, because that's very, very interesting. And Reid, after the Christmas break, boom, one big game right away against the Kings. I can't wait for that game. 2 teams that are right there. I really hope those 2 teams don't meet in the first round of the playoffs, Reid.
Are you getting tired of it?
I'm tired of it, and eventually it's going to break for LA, right? So I don't want LA. I don't want LA.
The law of averages. Yeah, but LA's a good story, and they haven't obviously played this year. LA's 10-2-1 at home, and I believe I checked, but now I'm doubting myself. But I believe LA does not play today, and also does not play Friday, so they have the same break as the Oilers. Because some teams play both today and the 27th, and the Oilers have had that in the past. And Edmonton is now past LA. The games played are equal. But I think hopefully the Oilers' attitude, and of course it's game by game, but looking up, can you reel in Vegas? Can you actually get first place? I know there can still be a lot of movement, but the Oilers have moved 5 points ahead of Vancouver, and 5 points ahead of Calgary. Right? Vancouver has a game in hand, so hopefully they're looking up. But I do think it'll be fun getting back at it against Los Angeles. You're going to see Warren Fogle in a Kings uniform.
Who's having a really good year.
He is having a good. He's having a better year than Arvidsson, which I didn't expect. I know Arvidsson has missed games with injuries, but he hasn't been hugely impactful when he has played. So that'll be a fun one coming right back at it.
Yeah, I can't wait. So I want to ask you this, and I want to ask our listeners to text us 780-218-9999 or on the Nasty Chat. I'm going to ask you about a player, and we've all know what he does. He's a valuable player of this team. He plays extremely well in the playoffs. But are you a little bit surprised of how good Brett Kulak's been?
I would say a little bit.
Yeah.
Not because I don't think he's a good player and an intelligent player. I guess here's what I would say. Players sort of become perceived and used a certain way.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when they're required to do more, their overall game might slip, right? Either because they can't handle the responsibility, or they're not used to it, or they're not used to more ice time, even though they're all in good shape. But you know what I mean? It just changes the flow of a game for them. So the fact that Kulak has basically become the number 4 defenseman when he's usually been the 5 or 6 and seamlessly handled it has been a nice story. I mean, really, him and Nurse are kind of a D pairing as much as one of them playing with because of the way they do the rotation.
They're the second pair.
And what does he have? 5? Is it 5 goals?
I think he might have.
Is it 4 or 5? 5. Yeah, he's got 5 goals. And I mean, he may not score the rest of the year. That's not why he's here. But good for him. He had that burst. He had 2 goals in Nashville that one game. So I would say I'm a little surprised, though he has proven, and it's a good. I think we should point out that he's been a pretty good playoff performer.
Yeah, he's been excellent.
As an Oiler. So he kind of has, but he sort of looks now as if he's playing at the level he usually plays in the playoffs.
Yeah,
which is good for him.
What I like about him, he's moved up. He's playing his offside. He's, I think, since first times he's been on the Oilers, Reid, and outside of one game here and there, he's consistently over 20 minutes now. Like you said, they've become the second pair. I know they always start with Stetcher, Nurse, and Kulak and Eberson, but when the game gets tough, it's Nurse and Kulak. And I mean, Joaquin Gage absolutely loves this player, thinks he should win the Norris. But I think just Kulak, and like you said, it wasn't that I thought he was a bad player. I thought he's that stay-at-home, really elevated his game in the playoffs. He's just a lock on that third pair. But now I'm like, man, this guy's kind of he's allowing the Oilers to be patient in their search for a defenseman.
Yes, I think that's a fair point. I mean, and Kulak skates well. He's pretty good with the puck. And to factor this back to what we were talking about Bouchard is you rarely see Brett Kulak make a massive mistake. I guess maybe the other night he went into the corner when he didn't have to. And stuff like that will happen. But yeah, usually you rarely look at a goal against and say, "Oh man, like what was Kulak doing?" I mean, sure, he might get beat. He's on the ice for goals against, but he's rarely making that massive gaffe, right? That has you shaking your head.
Free Beer says, I wanted to jettison Kulak before the season for someone better. Good thing I'm not the GM. Yes, good thing. Justin of Bolgoni says, do you think the Oilers got Brett Kulak for Willie Lagesson, a 2022 second-round pick, and a 7th-round pick? Solid move. That's a good point.
Yeah, that is. I mean, because I know a lot of times just with the Oilers, it's the trades that didn't work out are pointed out. And here's the thing, and I kind of thought this about CC last year. There's nothing wrong with just having an average, and I don't mean average in a kind of insulting way. I mean it as a good way. Like there's nothing wrong with, maybe average isn't the right word. There's nothing wrong with just having a solid pro on your team.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the McDavids and Dreisaitl's of the world get the most attention.
Yeah.
But because I was kind of surprised last year. I went on a podcast with somebody, and it was before the playoffs, but they were basically saying, well, you can't play CC in the playoffs. Like Day Harney's got to play ahead of him. And you got to maybe, and I was like, why are we acting like Cody Cece's a detriment? Like I get it.
He was limited.
Maybe you want more offense. Maybe him and Nurse struggled at times as they did in the playoffs. But now that Cece's gone, a lot of people, maybe not everybody, but I've certainly heard, oh man, we miss Cece. Yes, because there's value to just somebody who plays 18 to 20 minutes a game and maybe doesn't knock your socks off, but just sort of quietly does his job. Kulak is sort of in that category, though he's stood out more this season because he's got 5 goals.
My argument always for Vinny and Cece, because I wasn't high on them either, but I understood what they brought to the team, right? And all I said in the offseason was, if you're going to get rid of Cody Cece and Vinny de Hernan, Reid, you have to bring in guys that are better. And they didn't.
No, they didn't.
So that's where I have an issue with it. Like, just keep Cece then. Now, Emerson's trending in the right direction. He's still getting limited minutes, sure. And he might turn out to be a better player. I don't know. But he certainly is looking better and better now that not everyone's talking about him and there's not these high expectations on him. But, I mean, Stetcher's not better than Cece. Like, and that's no disrespect to Troy Stetcher, but Cody Cece was excellent on the PK. Yeah, he had his blunders here and there, sure, but he was just a solid stay-at-home defenseman. But the Oilers didn't improve their decor because they didn't bring in better players than Cece and Vinny did.
No, they didn't. No, I mean, I think Stetcher. I mean, ideally, if Stetcher's your number 7D, then you probably got a pretty good decor.
Yeah,
because he's like the perfect guy to go in every 4th game if you need him, because he's going to play hard. But yeah, he's limited in terms of, I think, talent. Emerson, we'll see. You're right. I mean, he may turn out to be Cody Cece Volume 2.
Yeah.
But he's probably 2 or 3 years away from really hitting his peak. So it's almost as if they traded the current version of Cody Cece to try to get a younger version of Cody Cece that maybe the Oilers have for longer because they got him at younger.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah.
Though quite frankly, I know Cece's point total, he didn't bring a lot of offense, I guess, except in Game 7.
Mr. Game 7.
You know, he scored in, I think, half the Game 7s he played in as an Oiler, but I don't know if there's ever going to be much offense there from Emerson.
No, I don't think so either. I do like that he has a mean streak. I didn't see that coming with him. Like, he's dropped the mitts twice, and he's done pretty damn well, and he's been physical. He's been really physical. So he's been an interesting addition to the Edmonton Oilers. Let's get to the spicy headlines brought to you by Popeyes. Festive family box featuring 4-piece signature chicken, 4 tenders, 4 regular size, and 4 biscuits with an option for a 4-drink bundle upcharge. Festive family box available in store and on delivery. Reid, we're going to go away from the Oilers a bit. I know some fans are going to ask us if they should go after them, but today the New York Rangers are in action. They're down 3-0 to the New Jersey Devils, Reid. It's going from bad to worse in New York. Chris Kreider today was named a healthy scratch. We are in the roster freeze, so there's nothing coming this week until it's lifted, I think, on the 27th or 28th. But what do you make of the New York Rangers struggles? And, I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams lining up for Chris Kreider.
Well, somebody was asking in the Nasty Chat, so I quickly double-checked. He has a modified no-trade clause, so he has a 15-team no-trade list. I have no idea who's on that list. And it can change throughout the season,
of course,
if they ever approached a player or whatever. I'm pretty surprised because when all this negativity started around the Rangers, they were still like 2nd or 3rd in the division. And then they're in a wild card spot, and now they're out of the playoffs by 5 points. They're down to 500, which, as we know in the NHL, isn't very good enough. I'm not sure what to make of it, Hernan. I mean, not covering it on a daily basis. It's just a little surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the roster. Panarin, Fox, Will Cooley's actually their 3rd leading scorer. Lafreniere, Zibanejad, Trocheck, Riley Smith, a little older now, but he's been a good player. They got rid of Kakko already, right? They got rid of Trouba. It's surprising to me. I know I saw a headline on Twitter from a New York writer saying, like, they ain't the coach.
Yeah.
It's these same group of players who have been together a while and quite frankly have been to a couple of conference finals.
Yeah.
It's not as if they've crumbled in the playoffs. So, Kreider this season has 11 goals, which isn't bad, but he's only got 12 points. He's got the Cy Young season going on. What is he, -4? To me, it's just really surprising that a team with that much talent is doing that poorly, but guess it just shows you in hockey, right? You got to have the attitude, and sometimes dropping off by 5 or 10% costs you heavily.
So they moved their captain, veteran defenseman. They moved their former 2nd-round pick, Kaapo Kakko, who came out after being a healthy scratch, was not happy. Mm-hmm. And now they're potentially moving one of their veteran, better forwards. I mean, that's just not a good look on this team. There's something obviously in the water there. I don't know what's up in that dressing room. A lot of people are saying there might be a riff as well. Who the hell knows? We're not there. It's definitely interesting though. But and just before we get asked, the Oilers will not be in on Chris Kreider. Is that fair to say?
Well, I don't see how they could be.
Yeah, just because of the money.
$6.5 million.
Yeah. Unless you're moving out a significant piece with term.
Right.
That's the only way you're getting it done. And I'm not saying the Oilers wouldn't do well with Chris Kreider. He's a hell of a player. I'm just saying it's not realistic right now for the Oilers. Fair?
Well, it's not realistic for them to acquire any player that makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
That's what it is.
That's
just
I guess a very simple way to look at it.
All the money they have and all the money they're trying to collect here with all these moves and LTIR is for a defenseman, Reid. Right?
Oh, that's the total priority.
Yeah, for everybody else.
Beef up the D.
For everybody out there who thinks the Oilers are going to upgrade their goaltending or their forward group, I know there's rumblings around that they're also looking to upgrade their bottom six with a little bit more speed and physicality, which is probably not going to cost you much either.
No, and I still wonder if that's Philp.
Hey, that's a good point.
At some point.
Yeah.
They'd probably, well, Philp's older, but they'd probably like someone who's a veteran. I mean, here's the thing. This is a little off topic. The ideal person to get was the person the Oilers got 2 years ago at the deadline, and that was Bukestad.
Yeah, he was
to play that spot, right? Yeah. Big face-offs, could score a little.
Oh, yeah.
If they would have been able to keep him. Now they couldn't afford him. That would have helped the bottom six even last year.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to take a lot of heat for it, but the Oilers' deadline acquisition for forward is going to be Evander Kane.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Yeah, see, I keep not forgetting about him. I don't talk about him a lot because I just really don't know. I don't know when. I know there's speculation. I guess we're closing in on a month or so, maybe.
Yeah.
Till he might be back. But again, I just don't know. Until I see him practicing and taking regular rotations and looking good and looking intense and all that kind of stuff, I realize he would make the team better if he's at his peak or near his peak. The player who came in when they signed him the year San Jose got rid of him. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was awesome. I mean, the line was him, Draisaitl, and McDavid, right?
Yeah.
And they were awesome. But I just, and I'm not saying he can't do it. I guess I feel sitting here and saying, oh, yeah, he's going to come right back and be play like a 30-goal scorer. I can't say that with any certainty.
Yeah.
I hope he does, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think just his physicality alone would be a welcome addition to the Oilers. And I like that you brought up Noah Philp, a guy that, by the sounds of it, you guys had Ryan Holt on Friday, and he spoke glowingly of Noah Philp. And he's a guy he's not a 20-year-old. He's 26. He's a guy that's, he's a little bit older. The games he did play, he looked really well. He's playing top minutes down there in Bakersfield. Do you see it more him coming up at the deadline or in the new year, like January?
I'd like to see him come up in January.
Yeah.
Personally. I mean, why not see what he can do? Assuming he's actually earned it, and it sounds like he's been okay in the American Hockey League. I mean, they've scratched Derek Ryan for a couple games. He was back in there yesterday. I'm at the point I'd like to see what Philp could do.
Yeah, me too.
For an extended stretch of games.
It's good on face-off, big body. He's got some hands as well. 2PI100 says Kane is going to take some time to get up to speed would honestly like a Bako stint for him to get his conditioning. He probably will go to Bako. Can he? Yeah, for a conditioning stint? Really?
I think he can on a conditioning stint, yes.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea there. He probably will because he's been out for so long, so it's going to be definitely interesting to see. Trev! We just need to get to keep it or clip it and switch it on the screen.
Oh, okay.
I can't do it here, so sorry. Keep it or clip it, please. Thank you, my friend. Sorry to interrupt you, buddy. A lot of people saying, you look like Stuart Skinner.
No, I don't.
Skinner's much taller.
And he's got blue eyes.
Yeah, but Trev's a lot more handsome.
Thank you. I've heard that too.
Yeah. All right, let's get to keep it or clip it for Tommy Guns at Tommy Guns Original Barbershop. We believe a great haircut is more than just a quick in and out. It's about the whole experience. That's why we follow the code, a commitment to deliver the best barbershop experience every time you visit. From check-in to the finishing touch, every step is crafted with care. No appointments needed. Just walk in, relax, and we'll take it from there. Keep it or clip it for Tommy Guns. All right, Reid. And we want our listeners to chime in as well. Keep it or clip it. The Oilers will have 5 or more 20-goal scorers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They already have one, so.
They already have one. 1, 2. I will clip it.
Yes.
McDavid will get there. Hyman will get there. Who else is going to get there? I'm not sure. I think 5, maybe 4. I think with Nuge, you never know. He's got 6 goals, but power play, playing with McDavid, maybe empty net. Who knows? I did predict at the start of the season that Connor Brown would get 20.
Okay.
Again, he's not at that pace.
He's playing well, though.
Yeah, I mean, he might get into the mid or high teens even. Henrique has usually been a lock to get to 20 in his career, but that was only his 3rd yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So it hasn't been going in for him. I'll say 4 because there's going to be the 3 automatics, and then I'll be optimistic that somebody like Nugent Hopkins or Brown or
Skinner.
Probably not. I mean, what about Corey Perry?
Yeah, I mean, he's been really good.
But he's at 6, so they have a bunch of guys that are just below pace to get to 20. So I'll clip it and say they have 4.
All right. What do you think out there? It's going to be tough. Well, 2 of these guys are going to have to get really hot. If the Oilers are going to have 5 20-goal scores, it's going to be tough because after Hyman, it drops off. The highest is 6, and a bunch of guys there at 6. Let's go to this one for keep it or clip it. The Vancouver Canucks should trade one of Pettersson or JT Miller. Keep it or clip it. Or do they have to be pros and just work this out?
Well, they do. Well, I never thought of that. I don't know if either one will be traded. I'll say keep it just for the drama.
Okay.
Though I don't think it happens in season. I think if that happens, it happens in the summer.
Because it's a mess there, man. That's why we're going.
Yeah, I don't even know what their trade status is.
That's a good point too.
I hadn't looked at that, but
because Petey just signed a new deal, I think. And then they were both really short with the media. They were annoyed. There's former players on the X machine saying that the media are making all this up. Like, it's such a bad, chaotic issue right now that this has kind of become to Reid.
JT Miller, he has a no move. And then are you trading Peterson? Probably not.
But JT Miller can void that, right?
He could say, I'm going to leave. Man, they're both signed Miller's signed until 2030. Peterson's signed until 2032. I think, though, so Vancouver and Edmonton, top 2 teams in the division last year.
Yeah.
Vancouver is in a playoff spot, just barely, not playing great. But I think both Vancouver and Edmonton came into the season with rosters that weren't as good as the way last season ended.
Yeah.
So
good point.
When they were not, neither one was firing out of the gate. I was like, well, what did you expect? Like the team, even I know they were brought in later in the season, but even losing Lindholm and Zadorov, you're not going to be as good. And maybe Lindholm's tenure as a Canuck, as brief as it wasn't considered awesome, but still, he's a good player. Mm-hmm. So, it's always weird when stuff like that gets reported. I mean, Miller obviously took time away.
Yeah.
And now is back. I think we know how he plays. Like he's a very irritating sort of player, which is good. You think you would love that as a teammate. So I always struggle to talk about things going on behind the scenes because you really don't know.
We don't know, yeah.
I mean,
we can assume all we want.
Right.
Yeah.
And when a team is struggling, things get said that they may or not be true. So I don't know. Trading one of those two for the drama, I'll say keep it.
Yes, me
Just
too.
for the in-season trade story. Though I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, keep it or clip it. Leon Draisaitl is having the best year of his career.
I will keep it.
Oh, look at that. You do, eh? He's on pace.
Well, I think
Well over pace.
so. He won the Hart Trophy when he had 110 points in 71 games. Now the detriment there, because I remember the discussion at the time, was that he was -7.
And the analytics community was upset because he was, the shots against were mind-boggling, which is ridiculous. But
He's
anyways.
plus 19 this year. He has 24 goals and 28 assists. That's pretty amazing to have that even a distribution when you have that many goals. Yeah, he's pretty good. And he's doing it. I mean, let's face it, guys. His line mates right now are still not that great.
No.
With Podkolzin and Kaplan. Now, I know he gets to be on the power play, and he's wound up on a line with McDavid at times throughout the season as well. But he's having a really good year. I mean, he's just a force out there on the ice. And quite frankly, I was saying this last night, is this the best year they're having?
Yeah.
I mean, McDavid looks like he could just play keep away and not ever pass the puck if he wanted to some nights. Draisaitl scores every big goal.
And it's almost secondary that we're not even noticing McDavid's greatness because Leon's been so great. Do you know what I mean? And you brought up his line mates. Podkolzin hasn't scored in 11 games and has 3 assists in that stretch.
Right.
He's not getting the production 5-on-5 from his line mates, but somehow he's still scoring. And it's not like it's, everybody calls them the power play merchants and all that. The power play just now is getting on. They were 1 for 5 yesterday, Reid, and their power play wasn't very good.
Yeah, and he's only got 5 power play goals. He's had years he's got over 20. So he might not hit 20 in terms of power play goals this year. Draisaitl's having a great year. Doing it both ends of the ice. I saw somebody put in the nasty chat, what if he won the Hart, the Selke, and the Richard? Yeah, that'd be pretty. Sorry, the Hart, the Rocket, and the Selke. What did I say? Oh, I said Richard instead of Rocket. Same trophy. And we know what might happen with the Hart Trophy, especially if McDavid surpasses him in points, which will probably still happen. Mm-hmm. That could hurt Draisaitl's vote getting for the Hart. But, I mean, he's outstanding. And maybe the best. I don't know. Is it the best he's played in his own end ever? It might be.
Yeah, he's been really good. Outside of when he's a little bit pissy. And that's
penalties. The thing. I mean, he'll probably get a couple more frustration penalties between now and the end of the season when he just decides to tackle a guy who's irritating him. I mean, I think if it's the celebrating thing, it was just you're 18, you're annoying me.
It drives me crazy that everybody's so impressed. And listen, I like Podkolzin. I think he should be in the lineup.
Yes.
I like Kapanen. I think he has good wheels. But everybody's so impressed with him, but they don't produce. So, for me, it's when it was Yamamoto, remember when Yamamoto was playing with Dry and everybody was torching Yamamoto because he couldn't produce? But Dry liked playing with him because he got pucks, he fed him, all that. What's the difference now? Why is everybody so in love with these two players when they don't produce? Podkolzin has 3 points in his last 11 games, 0 goals, Reid, and playing every shift. Well, mostly every shift because sometimes they go nuclear.
Yeah.
With Draisaitl. It blows my mind that we're okay with it.
Yeah, well,
the team's winning. I get it.
I don't know how many people are okay with it or not okay with it. I'm not sure. But yes, if you're in the top 6, you have to get points.
Yes.
And Yamamoto did sometimes, and then other times he didn't, which is why he didn't stay in the top 6 and ultimately not stay on the team. I think, I agree Podkolzin is an NHL player.
Yes.
I think he's a better bottom 6 player.
So do I.
If Draisaitl likes playing with him, that's good. Because quite frankly, I think over the years, Draisaitl probably wasn't fond of his line mates. Because let's face it, a lot of years it's been McDavid got the 2 best wingers, and Draisaitl got whoever was left over. I actually wonder, because of his speed, if Kapanen is a better fit for that second line for now than Podkolzin. That's me saying that. The coaches and Leon Draisaitl himself would probably say something else. But let me throw this out there as a what if. What if the top line,
Yeah.
the McDavid line, was Arvidsson and Hyman, and then Draisaitl got Nugent Hopkins and one of Podkolzin or Kapanen? And I know there's a problem there with which way guys shoot. I bet you Draisaitl would be thrilled to have Nuge back on his wing.
Oh, yeah.
Arvidsson played well last night. I'm not saying they're going to break up that line just because of one game, but I think that was an important showing for Arvidsson.
It was immensely. And we talked about it on Thursday. I said, how long before Arvidsson's in the top 6? I think he should be in the top 6. I think Jeff Skinner should be in the top 6. You know, he's fallen out of favor with I think, the staff. I'm assuming here. I don't know that. But when he's on the fourth line and playing limited minutes, I mean, they're not. I guess Knobloch was asked. He goes, play better hockey. Sure. But, I mean, at some point, you have to look at that top 6. And like you said, Arvidsson and Skinner were brought in to help to have better line mates for Draisaitl.
Yes.
Or McDavid if you want to flip-flop.
Whatever the hell, yes.
You can't sit there as a coach and tell me what Podkolzin and Kapanen are doing on second line you're okay with. Yes, they go out and dig pucks, but there's no production. None. So, like, that's the whole point of a second line is to produce goals. So, for me, it drives me crazy that we're so in love with these. Some are like, Podkolzin's fine. But if it was any other player, Reid, I tell you right now, they'd be a whipping boy. They would. They'd be like, get him off. But I just don't get why we're okay with Podkolzin having 3 points in his last 11 games with Draisaitl. I don't. And maybe that's the passion coming out today, but
it's okay to be passionate.
I just don't get it. Like, it drives me crazy. Yamamoto took so much heat for the same thing, but yet we're okay with a guy who has 11 points, mostly on Draisaitl's line. Jeff Skinner still, to me, is he's a one-trick pony. He's here to score goals.
Yes.
So put him in a position to score goals. And that's not on the fourth line.
No, I appreciate your thoughts, Hernan. I probably can't.
You don't agree.
I probably can't make you feel better. No, I do. I don't see Podkolzin as a top 6 player, but I think he's an effective forechecker.
Yes,
and checks hard and works hard.
Because Penner's Pank, 2PI 100 says Caps and Pods are built to battle in tough playoff series versus teams like Van and Fulp. I get that, and I'm not declining that, but they don't produce. I'd rather have guys in the top 6 that actually produce. Sorry. Anyways, Trev or Zach.
Where are we?
Yeah, we're supposed to end 5 minutes before. That was in the memo, wasn't it?
Oh, are we already done?
Yeah.
Wow.
Reid, this was fun.
Thanks for having me on, Hernan.
No,
it's nice working with you.
Yeah, it was.
You're a joy.
It was fun talking Oilers. What's coming up on the Reid Wilkins show?
Well, I'm stealing Joaquin Gage, apparently, for a little bit.
Okay.
Jay Milne is off today.
What?
Guy Flamey is going to jump on for a World Junior preview.
Nice.
And then it's just me and Coob hanging out.
Nice.
Talk Christmas, talk Oilers, talk... my top 3 is going to be the top 3 Christmas gifts I've ever received.
Nice. That's a good... I think we talked about that last week, too. And, I was pretty spoiled as a kid, so...
Yes, as I have been. And
Reid,
as an adult, quite frankly.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, Reid. All the best to you and your wonderful family. Make sure to tune in. 326. Coca Lynn says, Hernan, you sound like Rob Brown. Then Rob Brown's a sharp hockey mind then. Thank you for that.
That's quite a compliment.
For Reid Wilkins, I'm Hernan Salas. This has been the Oil Stream. Stick around for EST Afternoons with Joaquin Gage and myself. That's all coming up here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Merry Christmas. We'll talk soon.